Welcome to the Alternative Dog Moms podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom for more than 10 years. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I began raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott from the Believe in Dog podcast. For more than 10 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself. And I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned in case it could help you too. As the Alternative Dog Moms, Kimberly and I are bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and the brilliant people we're meeting along the way. Now let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin.
So just us today.
It's been a long time since it's been just us.
Yeah.
So yay. Gosh. Okay. Let me catch up with you then, because it has been. I mean, we do text, but nothing we text about is really something podcast worthy, surprisingly. But how are your dogs? How are they getting along? How's Nino? I almost said how's Penny. Sorry. How's Nessie?
I was just talking about her today. So we're good. So coming up on Sunday, so probably around the time this episode is released, it will be the 1-year anniversary of us adopting Nessie.
Wow, time flies.
Yes. It has been a year, man. Nothing in this year has gone according to plan, but there's a new plan and we've been rolling with it. And, it's funny, over on Believe in Dog, I've done a ton of training related and behavior related episodes this year. Selfishly, people for my own purposes, but we're just kind of living the gate, crate, and rotate life. They don't fight, but they just don't really want to hang out together. I think Nunu's kind of scared of her. He's got 20 pounds on her, which is hilarious, but he will duck down, or he'll go around the long way to avoid her if she's in the crate or something. But God, she is just such a smart dog and very loving to everybody but Nino. And, I'll have to keep everybody posted if I want to enter her in our odor recognition test for scent work. And I have to mail out all the information next week. And then you have to wait to make sure that you're accepted and have dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. But yeah, she's doing awesome at her nose work. And she is a smart girl, man.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And how's Nino's health thing?
He's been good. He had some skin issues. I think we're mostly under control now. He's got some ongoing occasional digestive stuff. It's never been quite right for over a year now. But I feel like he's been doing really good, really stable. We haven't had any nights where he's up at night in months and months and months. And
that's good.
If we get any good Black Friday deals on some of those things that Dr. Katie Woodley recommends, like the peptide, I might try that with him.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm starting to keep an eye out because the deals, I'm seeing a lot of people are doing basically a week long. Black Friday is usually it's Black Friday. Then it turned into Black Friday weekend, especially once everything became order online. And now it's going to be a Black Friday week. So starting this Friday, or no, is today the 20th? I don't know.
Today is the 20th that we're
so it's starting I saw the first one. I think Amazon starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
On the 21st. And so I have my list of Black Friday items that I usually I just get the same stuff, but it's just I'm looking for stuff that's going to be basically more than 25% off.
Yeah.
I just remember there was 1 year where people were doing BOGO deals or 40% off, and man, I would go bonkers and basically stock up for 6 months worth of stuff. And so I'm not hopeful that we'll see those good deals, but fingers crossed. So that's my whole plan for that Black Friday. My dogs are just normal. I'm grateful for that. Zoe has recovered from her tooth extraction. I don't know if we talked about it,
No, I mean,
but yeah,
not after the fact, I don't think.
yeah. So she had two of her back upper premolars were, I mean, I knew that they were a problem. She had a dental cleaning long time ago. And it was one of those things where it's like, we're not ready to pull these, but we need to watch them. And so I was, being vigilant about her dental care. And when I got back from feed reel, I just noticed something was wrong. And she had like something was around the mouth, and I pushed on the area to just sort of like gently to see if is it causing pain because it was red, and she didn't seem to be bothered by that, but pus would come out
Oh, that's
from
scary.
under the gum, and I'm like, okay, abscess, abscess, abscess,
Yeah.
and so I called my girlfriend who takes care of her and just said, hey, can you get me in? And she was kind enough to be able to get me in on Monday to she just squeezed me in between appointments. We sat there for like an hour waiting, but I didn't mind because I love their clinic, and all of my friends, all of us go there. So it turns into this social hour where it's like, oh, hey, what are you doing here? And I know like a couple of the employees I work with for the rescue. So it's fun. But when they got here and they were like immediately like, yeah, we're definitely gonna have to pull one. We might have to pull the other. And they were kind enough to save the teeth for me. And I mean, and it's funny because I always say, even though they have kibble in the lobby, um, and I say that because like when I post about things on social media, I say that because people have such disdain for traditional vets. And I think that you can get a really good traditional vet
You
that's so
can.
much fun. And
I
they
haven't, but you can.
yes, exactly. So many people have struggled with this. And I have been really lucky to have several traditional vets that have been really great. But these guys are the absolute best I've ever had. And they were, like my friend, she saved the teeth for me. And I was tempted to keep them and take a picture of them because I was like going to show them. But I was like, I don't know if this will be just too much. I mean, granted, I took a picture of guts that I found in the yard and shared that. So it probably wouldn't have been too much. But they showed me where one tooth, you can see that the infection had gone straight up through the root. So it definitely had to go. And the other one was on its way. So they were definitely, it was interesting because most of like the infection was underneath the gum. So you wouldn't even really see it. Like the tooth itself didn't look as bad as what was underneath the gum.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's a good thing that I took her in and that I was paying attention. And so she went through it beautifully. I reached out to Sean of Earth Buddy Pet and Rob of Gussie's Gut to ask them about what I can do to just basically keep her system strong, help her get past because she was going to be on antibiotics and it was two different prescriptions of antibiotics. So it's just sort of like, what can I do to protect her gut, to have her system filter this out? And so I had conversations with them. And I also reached out. Who else did I speak to? Oh, it's a veterinarian. And for the life of me, I have forgotten her name. And I'm going to see if I can find it really quickly. But I asked her about, because I read up on, when you take antibiotics, like when should you be taking the probiotics? And it's just sort of like, should you take the antibiotics in the morning, probiotics in the evening? And there's all these different thoughts. But with her prescription, she was taking antibiotics in the morning and in the evening. So it's like, when can I put the probiotics? And I learned that if you can do it 3 hours after.
Okay.
So I started feeding her a little earlier in the morning and a little earlier in the evening so that 3 hours after she can get the probiotics. And it was I think I know, Dr. Susan, but Dr. Karen Bector's best friend,
Wrecker.
Susan Recker. Thank you. So I contacted her. And so she was able to help me just better understand how to get that done. And so I got a nice little system going. I originally fed her for probably 2.5 weeks. I fed her gently cooked by a local brand called Natural Pet Pantry. And I got a really great deal because one of our local pet stores, what is they called? I'm just not able to think of anything today. Patty Whack. They had all of October. They called it, did they call it Rocktoberfest. Yeah, Rocktoberfest, where they had a few raw brands that participated, and you got I think it was 20% off of them. And so I just and they gave you a bag, like, one of those freezer bags that keeps
Mhm.
everything cool. And you just basically you could fill it up with as much as you want of the participating products. And that's what you got for 20% off.
That's
And so
cool.
yeah, I spent like $140 and basically got a month's worth of food
That's
for her.
great.
And I went back on the very last day and just got a bunch of other stuff just to keep, since it was, may as well take advantage. But yeah, I got it for a really great price. And I got more food than she could finish and eventually started feeding them all the food. But she did really good. She's still really good. It's healed, but I'm not willing to give her anything hard to chew just in case. I want to wait for probably another month to make sure that area is not tender or anything for her to chew on. But I don't think she'll be able to do like air dried bones or anything like that because she's just missing that top tooth. She has the bottom teeth and she has the back teeth. And she can adapt and adjust, but I just worry about it being uncomfortable. So she can do she can do duck feet and duck necks, raw ones because they're softer. And
Softer.
so she can do those a lot. But yeah, she's doing really good. But it's funny because I don't know if I told you this, but when I was at Feed Real, it was Dr. Nick Thompson that convinced me to have the teeth pulled. I mean, and he didn't even really convince me. He just told me to do it because we were talking about her and he was like, do you have any concerns? And that was my concern. He was like, have them pulled, just have them pulled. And so I'm grateful that I did. And she bounced back really quickly. She did really good.
So, will you do anything like an animal biome test in a month or two, or anything to like kind of check in on like how her gut health is doing from that?
I'm hoping to see either Animal Biome or Innovative Pet Lab to see if one of them has a Black Friday deal. Because I would like to see. I mean, she's just checking her out to see. Because usually, if there's a huge microbiome shift, like something is very deficient, you'll see it come out in other ways. She's been fine. Her stools are perfectly fine. She's eating perfectly fine. She doesn't have any like itchiness or redness or anything that would make me think that there's a concern, but I'd still like to just check. I mean, it would have been cool to do a before and after.
Yeah.
Uh, but who's going to think about those things? But I would like to just to be sure, especially since she's my senior dog. And I'm also going to see if they have if Oncotech has a Black Friday deal, because even though I tested her, I don't know if this was I think it was earlier this year, this past spring.
Yeah.
I'd like to test her on that again as well. So and for those of you guys who don't remember that, they test it's a cancer screening kit, an at-home cancer screening kit. And she came back with flying colors, but she's 11 now. And I just want to maybe start doing that once a year for her.
Yeah, Nina's probably about 11 too.
Yeah. So, but otherwise, yeah, she's doing really good. I mean, it's so funny because she bounced back so quickly and now she's active and running around and being silly. She was jumping at me and hitting me this morning because she wanted to go outside. And yeah, it's like nothing happened.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So what's going on in the world?
Oh my gosh, well, there's been a lot of product updates lately. There's one that I'm super sad about. Aunt Jenny's is a local raw food company made here in Maryland. I think they have like a regional distribution. I'm not sure if they would be out in stores near you, but I think they're pretty known on the East Coast anyway, or the Mid-Atlantic region. And they've been around for like over 20 years. And I guess Aunt Jenny is retiring and they're shutting the whole company down. And she said that she was really proud that she started this over 20 years ago. They've never had a recall.
Wow.
And they also make other products too that I see people recommend all the time, a different allergy and other support type products. But I'm just super sad because when Penny was having a lot of her health issues several years ago, Aunt Jenny's fish protein was like one of the only things that she could be on. So that was like my go-to for, months while we were trying to get her stabilized. I feed Nessie the turkey and the pork. So I was laughing. I was like, uh-oh, I went full Kimberly. I went and bought out all of the pork and all of the turkey that they had in the store. I had like this big box I was trying to like wrestle out to the car because I couldn't even fit it in my bags. Like I bought the 5 pounds, I bought the 1 pounds.
Yep.
So Nessie's good on food till like February, I think, but then we'll never have it again, and I'm just so bummed.
I remember once when I did that with first Answers when they made their changes and I bought out all of their fermented fish stock and then later on Cure.
Sure.
And someone asked me on social media, and they're like, "Why don't you leave stuff behind for other people to get?" And actually, the store owner jumped into the comments and said, "No one buys this except for Kimberly." And so we actually order it because we know that she'll be in and she'll buy it. And I didn't realize that they were doing that. And I was just like, that is so thoughtful. And it was just because in my town, we have Jules Animal House, and then Paddywhack, which I mentioned earlier, is a couple cities south of me. And when all of that was happening, and I was basically hitting every pet store with that, was reasonable to drive to. And buying out. And it was funny because they were like, wow, this must be some good stuff because you're buying it out. And I was just like, oh, yes, that's some good stuff. Do you have any more in the back? But Paddywhack, the owner, came out and said, do you want me to just order you some? And I was just like, you can still get some. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, I will take. And I basically didn't know how much to order or what happened. So I just said, I want to spend this much money. Order me that what? And she's like, no problem. And the next week, everyone was so wonderful about that. But yeah, it does feel kind of cool I was stocked up for a year.
Yeah.
It was nice. But no, those days are gone.
Super bummed to be losing that as an
You
option. Now,
bet.
I do green juju with her, OC raw. I've done solutions, but I never know exactly how much to feed because it tells me to like I basically be feeding her half of what I
Isn't
do
it
to other brands, and
crazy?
it kind of weirds me out. But I do
Yes.
use it, and then I'm like, I hope I'm not starving her.
And I feel like the dogs look at me. The dogs are like, excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah,
Solutions is like when you go to a really fancy restaurant and the portions are really tiny, but it's
tiny.
a really presented beautifully.
But then it ends up being filling, and you're like,
Yep.
okay.
Apollo won't eat it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he will not eat Solutions. The other dogs love it. I don't buy it as often as I used to because I just don't have the freezer space. But I always like to keep a case on hand. I like the old school tubes. And that's what when Zoe, when Zoe had her extraction, that was the only raw I gave her. So she would have that too. But she loves it. Bella loves it. Apollo is not a fan. He used to eat it, but he's just not a fan anymore. I don't know if it's the texture or something, but he's not a fan. But it's okay. I have 3 dogs, so it will be eaten.
That's so funny. Yeah, I order other things from time to time online, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll have to start, rotating in some new
Yeah.
things that I've ordered. Well, I was excited to see, so Oma's Pride did a video with Ruby and Kay over on the Feed Real page that they're coming out with a line where they have removed all synthetics.
It's so amazing.
And so I'm like, oh, maybe I can add that in.
I love Almost Pride. If I could, first of all, they reached out to me. Everything I want to say is last year, and it wasn't last year. It was just sometime this year. But they reached out to me and offered me, because I was complaining about the fact that I couldn't find sardines anymore. Because I bought a case of sardines, but it's a 50-pound case. And maybe it's just me and everyone else understands that 50 pounds is a lot. Whereas in my head, I think 50 pounds isn't that big of a deal. I think it might even be 40 pounds, but it's a lot of fish. and it's flash frozen and it's just freely in there. So you have to get it in there, break it up and repackage it and put it in the freezer. And it takes up so much space. And splitting it is really hard because unless you're splitting it with someone who is going to come and pick it up like right away, and I know people who will, it's just really hard to organize that. And for a while, I was getting my sardines from OC Raw, but then the FDA came in and was like, those are too big and we don't like it.
Oh.
So they stopped selling. It wasn't that simple, but it was pretty much that. I was so angry because I couldn't get them from OC Raw anymore. And so I've been complaining forever about it. And so Oma's Pride reached out to me and said, we have sardines. And they gave me a credit on their site that would cover shipping. And then and I went hog wild. I ordered a ton and it was so hard for me to place an order. And they would even reach out to me and be like, hey, you still going to place this order? It was so hard because there were so many things that they had that I wanted to try. And I finally was just like, no, we're going to stick to the seafood because this is why we're here. And so I got tons of sardines. And then they have an oceans blend, which is sardines, mackerels, and Atlantic salmon. Love that too. I don't have that, but so it was just, I love the dog lover. I just love our community. Julie, who owns Jules Animal House, noticed it. And she was like, because she's been looking for sardines as well. And she reached out. She's like, you found sardines? I'm like, yeah, I found sardines at Selma's Pride. So she looked to see if she can get them, and she can. So she gets them in the store. And on Wild Wednesday, I usually buy like 1 or 2 packets so that I always have sardines in the freezer. And I think I'm going to ask her to special order some of the Ocean's Blend, or maybe I'll just order it directly. Maybe they'll have a Black Friday sale.
Oh.
But I do want to say something about Oma's Pride. So one of the owners posted on Instagram this week that just bought a new house and, standing in a kitchen with blue cabinets and stuff, and just bought a new house for me and the dogs. And I'm like, oh, congratulations. We have blue cabinets too. I watched that video so many times because I'm trying to see what the fixtures. Yeah, I guess the fixtures. The cabinet, what are they called? Like the
The hardware?
pulls? The hardware, thank you. The hardware on the cabinets, because we have hardware for our cabinets, but we haven't put it on yet. We don't really need it, and I was like, oh, that hardware looks really nice. And do I like that better than what we got? And so I'm sitting here and I'm congratulating him. I get a response. I'm at Home Depot. And it was just like, I wasn't paying attention to anything around, just the cabinets. Because I was so excited to see blue cabinets because, our cabinets are blue now and they're just gorgeous. And so I don't pay attention.
Well, you just reminded me of a failed experiment that we had around here. So remember we saw the OC Raw line where they had like the green lip mussels.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, my pet food store has not been able to get those, but she was looking around and she found another brand of frozen green lip mussels. I honestly couldn't tell you what it was. It wasn't one I was familiar with. So I was so excited to try these, and it's like this whole big frozen block of them. So I had to like defrost them a little bit to be able to, kind of portion them out more. And then I kept some in the fridge to thaw out more to give the dogs. So Nessie gulped hers down, and I literally started with 1 for each of them. 1 green lip mussel. And then Nino acted like I was trying to poison him. And then Nessie had diarrhea and threw hers up, and Nino had an upset stomach night. So, yeah, that didn't work out.
No green mussels. Yeah. I was going to order some. It's funny that you brought those up because I was just looking at them 2 days ago. And I'm trying to think of where. Oh, because, yeah, I got an opportunity to order. I don't know where I was getting them from, but I was like, hey, I think I'm going to order these. So I was looking at them and trying to figure out if it was a better price than what I usually get. And I realized what I usually get are cooked, not raw. And I was just like, I think I'm going to stick with the cooked ones because even though I think ultimately they're probably equal in price because the cooked ones I get come in the shell, and if they're doing it by weight, that shell adds to it. But I know for a fact that my dogs do very well on that. They have no issues with it.
Well, my
Whereas the
dogs
raw,
always had the freeze-dried ones.
yeah,
Never had a problem. They love them. They're obsessed with them whenever I buy them. But yeah, doing the raw ones didn't work out.
yeah, I do. My dogs have the freeze dried ones. A local pet store, the owner retired, and they offered me and my rescue whatever we wanted. And so the rescue got it as a donation. I went and they were like, whatever you want for this price. And I was just like, okay. And so I went and then I took all the greenlet mussels, and my friend was like, we could have used those for our senior dogs. And I'm like, I'm a horrible person. I'm sorry. There were only 3 bags. I promise. It wasn't like I took a case. It was like, but yeah, my dog loved those. And so I usually order those, the Northwest Natural greenlet
Yes.
mussels, and they also have shrimp. And so I order the shrimp as well because I
Hmm.
just think it's fun that I'm giving my dogs shrimp.
Shrimp, yeah.
But yeah, I didn't realize it until I saw it that I've actually never given my dogs raw greenlet mussels before. Just never really thought about it. They just had the powder, the cooked ones, or the freeze dried ones.
Yeah.
So now that you say what you say, I think I'm just going to stick with what's working because
Like
it's not like.
Nessie has never vomited in the entire time that she's been here, except for that one time, you know.
Okay, so vomiting. What Monday? We're up and about, and I had to get up super early Monday because I had to help Johan with the outside project. And we figured the only time I can help him is when I get up earlier. And he's just like, I don't like to get up in the morning. I'm not a morning person. And I usually stay up late, either watching something on TV or reading. So I set my alarm for 6 and I got up and we went and did the project, and we get inside. He was like, do you think you can sweep and mop, blah, blah, blah today? I was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, I'm going to do it later. But then I thought about it and was like, I'm going to do it now. Well, as I get ready to sweep and mop, I see a total spot that is like someone vomited there and then ate the food up.
Oh no.
But I don't know who did it.
Oh
And I
no.
have 3 dogs, and I'm looking at each dog trying to figure out who got sick. And I don't know if the dog got sick and then ate it again, or a dog got sick and another dog
Somebody
came.
else ate it.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but it happened. And it happened when we were out working on the whatever. No, it couldn't have happened then. That's what it is. Now that I'm thinking about it, because we did that in the morning and I don't feed my dogs until 10 o'clock. I mean, it could have, I don't know when it happened. That was days ago. So anyway, spent the rest of the day looking at each dog, trying to figure out like if there was a telltale sign. Like I was convinced they were all sick. Apollo didn't seem to have as much energy as he normally does. So I mean, it just everything. I was looking at everything. I never did figure out, and no one ever vomited again. But I do have a problem that Bella is starting to have hunger pukes. So
Oh.
I've had to return to, I think we might have talked about this a year or so ago, where I feed a light meal in the morning, or is it a heavy meal in the morning, a light in the evening? Yeah, a heavy meal in the morning and a light meal in the evening. Or is it light meal and heavy meal? No, I think it's light meal in the morning and a heavy meal in the evening. Because I started doing that. I think it was after we spoke to Thomas Sandberg, where I was going to start feeding more raw meaty bone meals. So I had to return to that because I think that she doesn't get enough food in the evening. And so by the time morning comes around, she, and I swear I will be in a dead sleep, and the sound that a dog makes it's like someone poured cold water over
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
You're just wide awake. And so she woke me up at 5 a.m. And then, and I got everything cleaned up, got her outside, and she was fine. And she came and went back to bed. And I just sat there like, well, I'm awake now.
Yeah. Yeah, can relate with Nino and his middle of the night tummy issues, but haven't had that in a long time.
So, Dr. Harvey. I didn't know about Dr. Harvey's new dental chews until you mentioned it. And I am so excited to give those a try.
Yeah, those look cool. They use oyster shells.
I mean, are the oyster shells supposed to like crunch on the teeth, or is it just an ingredient, kind of like how kelp is supposed to help with? Because I haven't looked them up.
Let's take a look.
I know. I'm gonna go and look. What is it? Dental chews. I'm thinking I need to try a new base mix because I've been using Raw Vibrance for years, and I know I should probably, even though I do variety for everywhere, I wonder if I should do variety with the base mix as well.
Oh,
Here they
that's
are.
interesting.
Holistics. Is that what it is?
Yes, holistics.
And it's a big bag. So improves oral hygiene and fights plaque with real mint, keeps fresh breath. Sweet potato and mint. Well, this looks really cool. I want to see my dogs because the only thing that makes me nervous about sometimes dental chews, even though, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter, but they just eat them and then they're gone. And it's like, so did it do anything? But yeah, no additives, no cheap fillers. I'm looking for, oh, here we go. Calcium from oyster shells strengthens the teeth. Okay, so that's what that's for. Then real mint for the breath, improves oral hygiene and fights plaque. I want to give those a try. My dogs would enjoy that. I'm curious to know how hard they are. I have so many questions. But I'll add this to my Black Friday list. We'll see. Dr. Harvey's usually only does 15% off on all of their sales. But so I usually rarely spend money on Black Friday, but I think maybe they'll do 20% off this year. But I would like to really give those a try. And I reached out to, oh, I didn't really reach out to, I was chatting with Raw Paws Pet on social media, and they said they're going to send me a gift bag of
Oh,
stuff. So
nice.
I'm really excited. I've worked with them since I started. They were the first brand that reached out to me
Oh,
about
wow.
raw feeding when I first started changing my content, 10 years ago. So I've been working with them for 10 years.
They have a new line of heritage regenerative farm sourced raw diets, including pork and beef and chicken. And I was really excited about that because, again, I'm losing my Aunt Jenny's. So
Hmm.
I was like, oh, this might be one. I really like the whole regenerative farming
Yeah.
aspect of it. And if people haven't been on rawpaws.com website recently, they have an amazing selection of like all the things, all the
Yes.
different food brands, everything.
It's like a co-op. I mean,
Yeah.
it has everything. I mean, it's like if you need whatever you need, it's basically one-stop shopping.
Yeah.
So I've always been impressed. And they have really good sales. I mean, I like get on their newsletter. They have good sales. They have free shipping. I've always been a big fan. If you want to do DIY, you can do individual things. If you want to do more balance, you can do that as well. So they have a little bit of everything. Right now, they have 5% off every order, but I'm curious to know if they'll have something different. I usually do the bundles if I do order from them. Ooh, I was gonna. Speaking of bundles, and it's not speaking of bundles. It's just that I went on their website and I saw that they had the marrow bones. I got 100 pounds of marrow bones from a friend.
Wow.
Yeah, she does, I don't know if she air dries them or smokes them, but she does something to them and sells them as treats out of her store. And she had some that she couldn't use. And whenever she has things she can't use, she'll message me and say, hey. And so she was like, I'll give them to you for $1 a pound. And I was like, all right, I'll be there. And so I picked up 50 pounds. And again, I probably should have just picked up 100 pounds. I should have just gotten 50 pounds because I had to call someone to come and take some of these bones off my hands because it's just sort of like it's way too many bones.
It sounds like a lot of bones.
Yeah, I didn't realize how many bones. So I really need to remind myself that 50 pounds is a lot.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm just going to use it to make bone broth. And whenever I make bone broth with marrow bones, I never get the gelatin really. But I found it's because I don't cook them long enough. That for me, at least, so if anyone's listening to this and if you have that same problem, I can do my pressure cooker for any other bones for 4 to 6 hours. I could probably even do less, but I usually do 4 to 6 hours. With marrow bones, I actually do about 7 to 10 hours. And then I'll get
Ah.
a good. a good gelatin. But I don't know. I just like it. I don't give my dogs marrow bones because I always worry about teeth.
Yeah. And they can be fatty too.
Yeah, the fat. Well, and it's so funny because fat is not bad, but too much fat is. And I know with Rodrigo, and granted, he had his pancreas issues. And same with, but Sydney, who can eat anything, she had, that fat because they would eat the fat out of the middle
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and later on vomiting. It
Mm-hmm.
was just way too rich. So, yeah, so yay. And you sent me reasons why pet parents stop feeding raw. I thought this was interesting by Rodney and Dr. Becker. I mean, it's the top 4 reasons. I wonder if this is like in order. Like most people stop eating raw because of GI intolerance, or if it's just these are just the things that we hear.
Yeah, so their post says, yeah, number one is GI intolerance, such as diarrhea, vomiting, and licky fits, which that's the new term I'm using.
I know.
And then number two is GI disease, such as IBD, gastritis, pancreatitis. Number three is lack of interest, which blew my mind. Like, I can't
Hmm.
imagine a dog that wouldn't eat raw. And then number four is cost and convenience.
Yeah, most people that I hear from, it's 3 and 4. And I think that's why I mean, it makes sense, of course, but that's why it surprised me because with the other two, you know how when, you, I don't know, I don't spend a whole lot of time in raw feeding groups, so I don't really see this anymore. But it used to be that when people would say, "Hey, my dog doesn't like this," or "My dog is has diarrhea," or "My dog is vomiting," and stuff, and people will just tell them, "Oh, well, you need to do this differently, or you need to go slower, or you just stay the course, and your dog will get over it." But most of the people that I see, it's because I have heard of people who are like, "My dog just won't eat it," and it's sort of like dogs that are just super crazy picky. And so every time they put something down, their dog is like, maybe they'll eat it the first day, but then the next day they won't eat it. So they're afraid to stock up on it. And they're afraid to really go delve too deeply into it because their dog is being so picky. I mean, it's not a lot of people I hear that from, but I do hear that. But mostly it's the cost and convenience where I remember this woman at the vet office when I mentioned that I feed raw and she's like, "Isn't that crazy expensive?" And it's like, well, yeah, if you order commercial raw and have it delivered to your door and you have, Great Danes and Malamutes, then yeah, it's very expensive. But, it doesn't have to be. I mean, Rodrigo had GI disease and he did fantastic on raw.
Well, it was making me think of when I assume Dr. Becker and Rodney did a similar talk when you saw them as when I saw them. And I feel like they touched on this that sometimes if a dog's gut bacteria is missing like a certain strain, I think it's the fusobacteria, they will have trouble digesting proteins,
Yeah.
basically. And so I often think that when I see that because that's the thing I do see in raw feeding groups is like, oh, I thought this was going to solve my dog's allergies and it didn't, or this gave my dog diarrhea, or I thought it was going to stop his diarrhea and it didn't. And so I think that that's when there's a deeper
Yeah.
gut bacteria issue going on. And that's where I thought working with somebody like Dr. Katie Woodley and her program was super helpful for people who find themselves in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
And, doing all those gut tests, like the animal biome and all that. And yeah, because I think Penny had low fusobacteria at one point also, but she never had like a GI disease issue. It was it came out in her skin.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, sometimes it's not a magic fix for everything that's going on because there's just like deeper stuff going on.
That, or you get because Rodney has mentioned this in the past, the honeymoon period,
Hmm.
where your dog magically, because that's what happened with Rodrigo, just everything cleared up and it was like, oh my gosh. And then a few months later, or not even that, like 6 months later, his digestive system just went out of whack. And it was because he did have underlying issues that still needed to be addressed. And it is, I think a lot of people do. I think that with a lot of natural things where, I mean, even I have to be wary of putting too much hope into the things that are out there because like right now, this is like total not dog related. On oh my gosh, I have a TV talk too. But on TikTok, and it's still going on, but not as much, or I don't see it as much. But people were promoting magnesium spray and all the benefits of a magnesium spray. So, like, if you're experiencing like this laundry list of symptoms, it's probably because you're low in magnesium. All you have to do is you spray this spray on your legs and your feet, and you'll sleep better. You'll lose weight. You'll up your magnesium levels. You won't have headaches. And there are a bunch of other beneficial reasons for doing this. The problem is that when you spray this stuff on you, it's very drying. So it soaks up all the moisture in the area that you spray it. You technically should spray it on and after 20 minutes go and rinse it off, but no one talks about that. They just spray it on. I blame you because you research so many things that I'm watching like video after video after video, and I'm like, really, guys? And I'm reading the comments and stuff. And what was interesting is people are talking about how great it is, but then people in the comments are like, well, this happened and this happened and this happened. And so I started doing research and I'm like, is this really as great as it is? So people are experiencing super dry feet where their feet are peeling because they're so dry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's just like an itching and stuff. And people say, oh, no, the itching is just because you're low in magnesium. If you keep using it, eventually it'll go away. And it's just like, mm, you know, discomfort is a concern,
Yeah.
especially if it's like really rich. Do you guys have to drink water right now? But, so there's that. And then there's also like the layers of skin plus fat. Are you spraying enough for it to absorb through all those layers to actually get into your bloodstream to increase your magnesium levels, especially if you are rinsing it off? No, you're not. So, and there's no studies to show that people are spraying this on and then, testing their magnesium levels before and then after to see if it increases. So it's just one of those where for some people they say, well, it does help with my anxiety. It helps me sleep better at night. And that may be, but it's still not a magic solution. You still probably, like if you really are low in magnesium, that probably isn't a solution. You should probably educate yourself on magnesium. Again, your fault. So I fell down that rabbit hole and found out that, and this is just a guess off the top of my head because I can't remember, but there are like 7 different types of magnesium.
Yes.
And they all have different benefits. So they're the ones that help you sleep better and calm anxiety, or there are some that help with digestive issues. And so if you are backed up, it's going to loosen you
Yeah,
up.
I was going to say that you have to watch which type because one of them will, make you have to imminently run to the bathroom.
Yes. So and it was actually really fun just learning about all of these things. And I ended up finding a magnesium supplement that I love. And it's 3 different types of magnesium.
Yes,
And yeah,
that's good.
yeah. And I feel so relaxed. I sleep amazingly well. I rarely have anxiety. I mean, and it's been fantastic. And I always wondered like, well, if it's a capsule, it's going to take time to get in your system, but it does so great. And so I ordered the spray because I was curious about, well, what's the difference? And the spray is nothing compared to the supplement. The spray is just basically taking people's money and making their feet itch.
And maybe there is a topical version that's good, but it's just not that one, right?
Yeah. Oh, and pain relief too. Yeah, there are because they're like magnesium oils, magnesium lotions,
Yeah.
and I think that for the most part, those are like the putting it on your feet type of thing. It does have some type of calming benefit, but they say also like if you have muscle pain, like putting it where the muscle pain is will help with the muscle pain. But that's basically as much as I've found is consistent as far as the benefits, but all the other benefits that people list, it's just not proven. It's anecdotal basically.
Right.
So, but yeah, that was interesting. But bringing it back to dogs, that's just like the whole thing with raw feeding. Yeah, raw feeding is great. I love it. But sadly, it's not going to be for all dogs. And it's not it's not the cure all that we want it to be.
Yeah. yeah, it's not because yeah, a lot of times there's a lot of other stuff going on.
Hmm.
But yeah, generally speaking, any minimally processed, as minimally processed of a diet as you can have is always going to be better than a processed diet.
Yeah, definitely.
It's funny, I went to get a pedicure recently and I feel like I've even been getting them in the winter just because it makes me happy when I take my socks off, even if I only see it for like 5 minutes a day or something. But I don't know, it just makes me happy. So I was talking to the woman who does my nails, and she is a relatively new dog owner. She's probably close to 60 years old and has never had a dog in her life until a year and a half ago. And now she's totally obsessed with her dog, who weighs 8 pounds.
Oh.
Which, like, I'm like, I don't even know what to do with a dog that little. But we were talking about pet food, and she has a very picky guy. And I was telling her about Susan Thixton, and I just thought that might be a place to start because she was
Mhm.
asking what I feed, and I'm kind of like, well, that's a whole
Yeah.
ordeal. But she was so upset thinking about all of the poor ingredients that are allowed in dog, and why is that allowed, and why do we. And I'm like, exactly, and I'm like, because corporations get to write the laws basically, and they do it all for their profit. And like, she was not familiar with like the vitamin D recalls or
Mhm.
the melamine situation in 2007, and that there are pet food, situations that have killed large numbers of dogs.
Yeah.
And so I was trying not to be like a Judgy McJudgerson or a doom and gloomer, but I just wanted her to know there's some stuff out here. Start looking into it. Because like,
Yeah.
how do you tell somebody who's so brand new to
Hmm.
this? But it was just a reminder to me because sometimes I feel like because because nobody else has the same algorithm as you, right? It's like we
Yeah.
forget that, and so I start seeing like these same things over and over, and then I feel like, well, why would I say anything about this because there's 100 other people talking about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it was sort of a reminder to me that there's always new people getting dogs for the first time. There's always somebody just starting, whose dog is now sick for the first time or something like that. And sometimes those are good reminders for me that it is important to talk about these things and to remember that a lot of people are starting at literally square one on this journey.
But yes, absolutely. I know. It's one of those things where I'm really excited because I have friends. One of my friends had a dog with a hot spot, and she, we feed the same brand of food, and she feeds it exclusively. And I actually just have an order outside that I need to transfer into containers. And it's a local company, really good food. But she tried another of their proteins. One of her dog did great on it. Her other dog just suddenly started developing hot spots. And it's a dual protein. So she doesn't know which protein led to the hot spot, if it was, or if it was another ingredient. But her dog, who's never had hot spots in her life, suddenly started developing hot spots. She took her off the food, hot spots cleared up, but then they came back. And then so she's just like, I have no idea what to do. And I had some hotspot cream, but it's super old. So I think I threw it away. But I have the spray, and we stopped at their booth at Super Zoo. And I can't remember the name of the company, but it's like a colloidal silver Manuka honey product.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And it's a yellow and silver bottle. And I was just like, hey, I have some stuff that you can try. And we see each other once a week, and I meant to bring it and totally forgot it. So I just stopped by the store to pick it up and brought it to her. And I saw her this past Sunday, and she was just like, thank you so much. Cleared it right up. It was super
Awesome.
easy. And I was just like so excited. It's so exciting when something works. And
Yeah.
so, and I also took her, the other thing was that, because of the hot spots, it's like, since that's going to treat the outside, but let's start treating the internal as well. So I also gave her 5 defenders from real mushrooms and protect from the dog's naturally four-leaf rover. There we go. I gave her protect from four-leaf rover and the 5 defenders. And so she was giving that to her dog. And so basically all of that together cleared up her dog system. And
Oh,
so
awesome.
hopefully that means that the hot spots will stop going away. And it's just, it always feels so good because my friends, if they have a problem with their dog, I'm like, let me see what I got at home because I'm
Yeah.
such, everyone else is such a prepper like that around here. People have their freeze dryers and everything, and they're ready for the apocalypse. I'm ready to feed my dogs. So,
Right.
I mean, that's what I'm prepping for. And so I always have extra of everything. And so I will bring them things. And it always makes me feel so good when something works.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, and I'm so relieved because I know that a lot of times natural stuff doesn't work right away, but these things worked. And so, yay, yay.
So the other one on the list is BJ's Raw
Yeah.
Food is coming out with a freeze-dried line. So that was kind of exciting because I'm sure there are people who want to try it, but sometimes, like you're across the country, there's like this whole shipping and, it's a whole ordeal. Like, so now you can just get it as a freeze-dried one. I would
Mhm.
imagine that's much later shipping costs.
Is it going to be their same recipes?
I believe so, yeah.
That because that's one thing I really liked about BJ's is the I love the like the whole animal type of recipe. I thought that was really cool. I really liked their food. I wish I could get it here.
Yeah, I like to do a big order whenever they have a sale and
Mm.
stock up, but I don't have like a whole awesome freezer setup. I just have,
Did you see my video?
my yes.
I didn't get it, but that would have been so cool to get that freezer.
Yeah, so we just have the freezer that we use for us and so I had to already like clear out a whole extra shelf for all the Aunt Jenny's stuff I bought, which I heard about. But
Costco has the or no, not Costco. I was at Lowe's. Lowe's has the smaller freezers, but they're chest freezers
Mhm.
for $300.
Well, I feel like we'd have to get rid of our kitchen table to make one fit, which I'm not opposed to doing because basically our kitchen table just holds our laundry. But
Yeah. See, there you go. I know. But yeah, I was going to get rid of two of my freezers and I was going to, and it was on wheels. Oh, it would have been so nice. Someone got a freezer for a great price. What I tell myself to make myself feel better about it is that, since it was an auction, there's no guarantee that it would last and it would have probably broke down in 3 months and
uh,
then I would have been stuck. And so, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I'm fine with what I have. It was just sort of an opportunity that it would have been really cool to get a gigantic freezer for like less than $500.
so hit me with your TV talk.
Oh my gosh. So I'm so excited. It's funny because I posted what I thought was a really cute, funny carousel on Instagram. And someone didn't only read the first thing because it was just sort of like, hey, I know people like us to stay on topic and they get really upset because it's like, what does this have to do with dogs? But sometimes I really have to just speak up on something, blah, blah, blah. And by the time if you kept reading it, it got to there's this crazy new show that I'm watching and it's so good. But a couple people didn't get past the first thing and just went because, of course, it was bad timing on my part because it was Wednesday of last week or the week before last.
Election week.
Yes. And so people like lost their minds. And so instead of taking accountability for not, having good timing, I'm going to blame Dr. Nick Thompson because everyone's getting upset with him because of his post. And so they were like, how dare you? But I just went ahead and
There's that reading comprehension
I
again.
know it's just like I just went ahead and deleted those comments because it's like, you guys didn't get it. I ended up actually deleting the post because I found typos in it and reposted it. So, and everyone else actually read through it and got it. But the whole point of it was that I saw a show. So I don't know if you're old enough to remember Village of the Damned, but it was the last show that Christopher Reeve did before his accident. And it
Oh,
was like a little town where all these women passed out and then they woke up and found out they were pregnant and they gave birth to little blonde kids. And
no,
the
I have
kids,
definitely never seen
oh
this.
my God. I have yet to find anyone who remembers Village of the Damned. And it's crazy because that show, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, I'm sure if I watched it today, I would be like, oh, this is so bad. I mean, not that the show was bad, but like when people try to do, what is it, special effects and stuff, because, they had to make the kids' eyes glow and stuff like that. But the kids were all like a hive mind where they could talk to each other and they can make people do things and stuff. And so if like there is one where like a kid, she was a toddler, and I think her mom gave her something that was too hot. And so she made her mom dip her hand into boiling water. And yes. And so anyway, it's back and it's on AMC. And I was just like, but it has kind of a different names. It's this name of the town, colon Village of the Damned. And I was just like, I wonder if this is the Village of the Damned. And sure enough, it is. And it's, different because it's a series rather than a movie. The other one was a TV movie. This is a series, and it is so good. I mean, I watched the first 4 episodes and I was just absolutely obsessed with it. Now I'm 5 episodes in. And it's so good that when I watched the 5th episode, I didn't watch the recaps. I just went back and watched the 4th episode again and then watched the 5th episode. But it's just such good writing. And it's just, I kind of figure I know where it's going, but I'm still really interested in it. Still don't know what the kids are, like if they're aliens that came down and I don't know what that is, but it is a really cool show. So that's my TV talk. That's what I'm watching.
I feel like we've had a lot of shows to watch. We finished High Potential, and it sounds like that one will be coming back at
Was
some
the
point.
last episode the last one?
Yeah, there was only 7.
Oh, wow.
But I guess for, they did like a limited run to see how it would do, I guess. But it seems like it was good, yeah. And then we've been watching What We Do in the Shadows, which is like,
isn't that just the best?
yeah, so like that show like encapsulates just my whole sense of humor,
I know. I love it. So I have watched it. I tried to watch it with Johan, and Johan, he kind of laughs at it. But it's still sort of like, what are you watching? Is this vampires again? And usually if it's vampires, because I have a whole book of vampire stuff, series, movies. And so he's just like, vampires. And he kind of dismisses it. But it is so, so, so funny. I love that show so much. And I just love the fourth wall breaks. I just love shows when they look at the camera with dead face.
Yes.
And it's just so funny. Oh my gosh. So I get really into it. And I think this is my 3rd round through of watching it. And I get such a kick out of it.
And then we started Bad Monkey, but then I think we got backed up because of the other 2 shows, because we really only watch it when we're eating dinner and stuff. And so like High Potential, it might take us like 2 or 3 nights to get through like one episode. Mm-hmm. So we got backed up. So we did love the start of what we've seen of Bad Monkey.
Yeah, I finished that one. So good.
And then I started season 2 of Shrinking on Apple TV.
Yes.
Because oh my God, I love that show so much.
I love that show.
That's been all of my TV watching of late.
I decided that my TV watching is pretty much crime shows, but not really deep crime shows. So, but so like and because what's the other one on Hulu? With the guy's name with the little dog.
Oh yeah,
I'm talking about. So I'm like, that one's about to get really good. I like that one. That's about as deep as I can get. Like Bones. Bones is like the level of crime show that I like, where there's some humor to it, and I really like all the characters, and it's not, I'm not depressed when I finish watching it. Will Trent,
yes, thank you, yes.
So I love those, and then anything that's going to make me laugh. So.
Oh, and Elsbeth, I still have that on the DVR, I think, to watch.
I think I might have finished it. I don't know yet. I need to go check. I think I might have finished it. And so, but yeah, there's just not a whole heck of a lot. I'm trying to get back into, I can't remember the name of it. It's on Amazon Prime. It's the woman that has all the clones.
Orphan Black.
I watched it years ago, but I kind of forgotten it. And so I'm watching that again. Same thing with Killing Eve. I watched that all the way through, and I was gonna like start it up again. And so I watched that again because don't remember it. But I've started reading books again, well, listening to books again. So right now I'm like really into listening to this book. So
I love when like you find something new like to binge or whatever and you're like so excited and like
yeah.
every like moment that you have, you're like, oh, I'm gonna put this on or oh, I'm gonna read this. Like I love having that feeling
It
about
is. It's so much fun. The Village of the Dam, it's so cool. And it's funny because it's like, the first one was like all these little white blonde head kids. And this one, it's all different colored kids, different races, but it still works because, I mean, we're in a different world. And because I think that first one was it in the 90s or the 80s? I don't know. It was a long time ago. But it's still so good because these kids are, kind of, they're related but they all look different. But I want to know how they got the kids to act. Like, what was the direction on set? Because these kids are just absolutely creepy. And yeah, it's so good. But there is one scene, and I'm just gonna spoil it. It's not gonna spoil the story or anything. But I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh. So two of the parents are like, we got to get away from these kids. And they're like, okay, you go and do this. And then I'm going to text you when it's time to go. And you just leave. Don't say goodbye. Just leave. So, because the kids can know what you're doing. So you have to like really be careful about what you think and all that. And so he gets a text, says, go now. And so he's like, hey, I'm going to go check up on my wife. She wasn't feeling well. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, I'll be back. And so he goes home. And I'm thinking they're just going to jump in the car and leave. No, they start packing. Not only do they start packing bags and stuff, but they start packing boxes. And I'm like, this is not, this is, you people are afraid for your lives, but you were taking time. There
yeah.
was like a box, and I was laughing so hard because it's just like, it's like you guys deserve these kids because you're stupid. I don't feel sorry for you at all. But yeah. Yeah, it is a good show. And there's one actress on the show that she looks so familiar, and I cannot find what she was on. Like she was on something else, and I cannot figure out what she was on. And I've gone through her IMDb, and nothing looks familiar. But anyway, good show. That's all.
All right, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time.